Podcasting from Patrick Bateman's, it's the DigiGods. And now, please welcome two men who think Huey Lewis and the News are just okay. Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
All right, more new openings. We're so happy to have new openings again. Say, Corey, who sent that opening in, that creative opening?
That was sent in by Kevin Lower right before he returned some videotapes.
Kevin Lower sent a whole bunch in. Mario sent a bunch in. Kevin Lower sent a bunch in. A lot of people sent stuff in. We got a whole bunch. We got a year and a half. So we should talk for a moment about the controversy at Cannes, which we didn't talk about last week, which all of our colleagues who went to Cannes were pretty much irate with the selection of the Ken Loach film for the Palme d'Or, which just kind of came from left field. And then the German film that everybody loved about did you follow the German film, the whole thing, about the dad that...
I followed nothing.
You followed nothing.
It was like a month ago. I followed nothing.
Yeah, right. Well, anyway. No, there's a German film that everybody loved about the dad who thinks his daughter needs to kind of loosen up her life, so he puts on a disguise and basically becomes this very bizarre, disguised weirdo stalker in his daughter's life. And everybody loved that one. They thought it was going to win the Palme d'Or. Second woman director would win the Palme d'Or in history, and it didn't happen. The George Miller-headed jury wound up handing it to the Ken Loach film instead, which nobody liked. So everybody's angry.
Well, you don't want the festival to lose its credibility.
But this happens every few years. It really does, and it ties in a little bit with what we're going to be talking about this week. At least one title this week. But anyway, we really don't have a whole lot of stuff to talk about. So before we get to music, I want to go through some foreign, as long as we're segueing from Cannes. Yeah.
Cray.
Yeah, I'm going to do some foreign stuff, which has a little Cannes tie-in here at one point. But first, I'm going to talk about the Federico Fellini film City of Women from the Classics of Italian Cinema line with the Cohen Film Collection. This is on Blu-ray. City of Women on Blu-ray. Federico Fellini, Marchello Mastriani, one of his many collaborations with Fellini. Probably the most intense collaboration of a star and an actor in history, even more so than Herzog and Kinski, right? Wouldn't you think?
I would think so.
Mastriani and Fellini.
Yeah,
fabulous. Anyway, this is a wonderful, wonderful film. I am very hot and cold on Fellini. But this is one of those that I'm lukewarm on, and it kind of falls into an interesting period in his life. It is a long film, but it's from 1980, an introspective moment, an older Fellini, and it's weird, as his films are often, but it's not too weird. And Mastriani is absolutely wonderful in it. He is very, very good, and the extras are copious. There's an interview with Dante Ferretti, who, of course, has gone on to become a huge legend in production design. There's a documentary about the making of the film. And there is an interview with Tinto Brass on here, of all people, which is kind of strangely not... it's unusual to have Tinto Brass discussing this film and discussing Fellini. But it makes sense when you watch it. So, in any case, that is Federico Fellini's wonderful City of Women. And then also on Blu-ray from Kino Lorber is something I honestly did not know if this would ever see the light of day here. This is Miguel Gomez's trilogy Arabian Nights. 3 films. This is a huge endeavor. I believe this premiered at Cannes last year, but in any case, it is a long, huge, all-encompassing effort. It's one of those things that you just think, okay, it's so like Showa, I guess, is another example, or even the Human Condition trilogy by Kobayashi. This is one of those trilogies where you just think, okay, nobody's ever really going to undertake the effort. It's 3 films, about a total of, it's over 6 hours to watch all 3 films. But it's almost impossible to really, really explain this. Gomez made a film a few years ago called Taboo that was very, very well received. And this is essentially a telling of the Arabian Nights, the famous Arabian Nights, but it uses them to tell the story of modern-day Portugal. So he's doing kind of a Kieslowski thing in the sense that Kieslowski made the Decalogue about the Ten Commandments, but they were all basically morality tales set in present-day Poland. And then, Three Colors, Blue, White, and Red, sort of fraternity, liberty, and equality, the three themes that are represented by the colors of the French flag. So he elaborated on that. So this is something similar, and it is very, very difficult to explain. It is very, very difficult to watch at times, but it is captivating, and it is well worth seeing. It has some interesting bonus features on it, which includes a conversation with Miguel Gomez from the New York Film Festival, and then a short film that he made in 2013 called Redemption. But you really almost have to see this to believe it. If you're a Gomez fan, you kind of know what's coming. If not, it'll sort of throw you. Some weeks ago, we talked about Yuri Bykov, a Russian director. This is another film that he made in 2014. This is from Olive. It is called The Fool, and it is another one of these Russian films that comes out every so often, and we've had a lot of them lately. That is just an absolute stab in the heart at the corruption that defines Russian politics and Russian bureaucracy these days. Quite an extraordinary thing that this film was actually made. I have to be honest. I'm kind of amazed that Putin isn't slamming the door on how these films get financed and released, even if he doesn't flat out ban them. But anyway, this deals primarily with a building, and it deals with the bureaucracy involved in development and all that kind of nonsense, and it's pretty shocking. And then we also have. Let me get through this real quickly. This is the Cannes thing I wanted to mention. Maurice Pialat, he made a film called Under Satan's Sun, which we'll be talking about on a future podcast, which was a film that starred Gerard Depardieu that won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. And it was very controversial because Pialat went up when he won the Palme d'Or and he said, cinema is dead. And it's one of those artsy things that an auteur would say in a microphone. Win an award, and you walk up and you go, "Le cinéma est mort, is dead." And he was very, flamboyant about it, and people booed him, and it was very typically Cannes. So anyway, I don't think people really understood what he was doing at the time, but Pialat is a great filmmaker and made three of his earlier films are part of the Classics of French Cinema line from Cohen. And this is Volume 1 of the films of Maurice Pialat. Under Satan's Sun will be part of Volume 2. Films included here are Lulu with Isabelle Huppert and Gerard Depardieu, a very thin Depardieu in his younger pre-binge-eating days. Nathalie Baye and Hubert Deschamps in The Mouth Agape, and Philippe Marlowe and Sabina Audepin in Graduate First. Three wonderful films, three excellent films that all include interviews and commentaries and really, really good stuff here. And worth checking out. If you're a fan of Pialat, you totally know what you're expecting. Ip Man 3, the third and probably final of the Ip Man films that starred Donnie Yen. This is way, way out of anything that had anything to do with Ip Man's life. We're not even remotely in the realm of historical fiction anymore here. The idea here is that Ip Man now has to sort of fight for the honor of his family against ruthless real estate developers and all kinds of other things that are now happening in a period of colonial Hong Kong. Of course, Bruce Lee being his student is a little bit of the background of this. It's always that sort of, they hinted at that a little bit in the previous film. It's a very small part of this film. The real reason you see this film is because Mike Tyson is in it briefly, and has a fight scene with Ip Man, which is really awesome. And the funny thing is that Mike Tyson cannot act to save his life, but when he speaks Cantonese, he's scary. Seriously, Mike Tyson speaking Cantonese is badass.
How do we know his Cantonese is accurate?
I don't care. All I know is whenever he's speaking English in the film, he talks like Mike Tyson with that lip. And then he starts talking Cantonese, if I feng shao hu har, and you're like, oh gosh, you sound seriously scary. I don't even know what you're saying, but somehow Cantonese coming out of Mike Tyson's mouth, lethal. Fascinating. Anyway, this is on Blu-ray from Welgo. This is the, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is like the 6th or 7th Ip Man film now, but the third with Donnie Yen. It is quite good. I'd even say this is maybe the best of the 3 Donnie Yen films. It has interview with Donnie Yen, Mike Tyson, and Wilson Yip, and making a featurette, behind-the-scenes featurette, and some trailers. Really good stuff. And let's see real quickly. Let's do just these last. Did you ever see Thebe? The Oscar-nominated film this last year?
I did not.
It's really freaking amazing.
Are you holding it in your hand?
I am. Film Movement just put it out on Blu-ray. What a great get for them. It's basically the flip side to Lawrence of Arabia, is what it is. Really quite amazing. This takes place in 1916, and it is all that Lawrence of Arabia stuff, but seen from the Arab side. It is quite a good film. Anyway, this is Lebanon, Qatar, all in Arabic. Really interesting. Anyway, it's 100 minutes long, so it's much shorter than Lawrence of Arabia, but quite a cool film. And this is great, flip side to the good double feature with Lawrence of Arabia, in the same way that the Connection, the Jean Dujardin film, should be seen at the same time as the French Connection. You get the two sides to it. Anyway, really interesting, and all through from the point of view of this kid. This thing won the Best Director award at the 2014 Venice Film Festival. A very, very different view of the British Army and the Ottoman Empire and the whole landscape at that time. Really a fascinating film, beautifully put on Blu-ray, and kind of a really an unbelievably effective co-production of many, many countries in that region. Let's see, and so that we have some time to do some other stuff. Alain Resnais, Je t'aime, je t'aime. This is from Kino. This is an Alain Resnais film from 1968. It is impenetrable, like most of his films are from that time, but it is moody and cool. It's a little more accessible than Last Year at Marienbad. It is kind of a weird time travel romance. I don't think too much about it. It's a time travel romance in the same way that pretty much Alphaville is a science fiction detective story from Godard. It's just done in that really cool new wave style, and it's not meant to be really a genre film. It just it is what it is. It is what it is. You just kind of go along for the ride and accept that it doesn't really make sense, but it's cool.
Sui generis.
It's that. And then Blind is an really interesting mood piece about a woman who is going. Well, this is a Norwegian film from a few years ago, and it clearly had a hard time getting picked up. And it's about you can't really tell where you're in reality and when you're out of reality in this. A lot of the film seems to be in her head, and sometimes in her fantasy life, and sometimes in reality. It drifts in and out, kind of like in Persona, the Ingmar Bergman film. It has a similar vibe to that. And this is from screenwriter-director Eskil Vogt, who did Oslo, August 31st, and Louder Than Bombs. This is Vogt's directing debut after having written many, many, many very famous international films. And this is about this absolutely beautiful woman who has lost her sight. And it's impacting her relationship, her marriage to an architect, and her career as a writer. And how does she continue to write and create fiction? And the fiction begins to sort of echo her actual private life and her fantasies and her fears. And it's quite an interesting film. And ultimately, you're either going to love it or hate it. But I found it really quite compelling and interestingly done. And I think Eskil Vogt's going to do very, very well in the future as a filmmaker. So, that said, there we are with our foreign coverage for the day. Mark, yes? I would like for you.
Yes.
Well, let's cover some music
before
we get into this really cool stuff. So,
Frank Sinatra, you heard him.
Music, yeah.
Francis Albert Sinatra. The good folks at Eagle Vision, they have a 4 Blu-ray set that covers a lot of Frank's TV specials, and we have one of them. This includes A Man and His Music, plus Ella plus Joe Beam. Francis Albert Sinatra Does His Thing, and the simply titled Sinatra. These are all from the 60s, and they're great. A lot of these were, the first one was on, A Man and His Music was on NBC, the other two were on CBS. You know why I hate Los Angeles?
Why?
Okay, Sinatra makes a song about New York, right?
Mm-hmm, sure.
Iconic.
Yeah.
One of the all-time great songs.
All time.
Really,
yeah.
in terms of the American Songbook, all-time greats.
All-time great.
Makes a song about Chicago. My kind of town,
Mm-hmm.
Chicago.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard his song about L.A.?
Frank Sinatra's L.A.?
He did a song about L.A.
Did he really?
I swear to God.
Is
It's
it-
the lamest song you've ever heard in your life. Like, L.A., something happens, and it's my lady, and you're
Why
cool.
why would
I'm going to look it up right now.
Why would anybody do that after Randy? I mean, Randy Newman killed it. I Love L.A. is L.A.'s anthem.
No,
Why
but this is Sinatra. He did it in. I'm not sure what is his L.A. song called. Oh, L.A. is my lady. It's just the worst. Oh, here it is right now. Wait, hang on. Ladies and gentlemen, L.A. is my lady.
I don't. This sounds horrible. This is terrible. Why are you playing this?
Okay, he's gone from New York,
Yeah,
to this.
it sounds terrible.
Oh wait, that's not it.
Okay.
Wait, hang on.
That's
Wait
still,
a minute.
That's still pretty terrible.
Wait, where is it? Or maybe it was it.
Okay. This is so loungy.
This is. I mean, New York,
Yeah.
iconic. One of the great songs of all time. Right?
Uh-huh,
Chicago?
sure. Yeah.
A great song.
Yeah.
Then there's this crap. Okay, let's just get to the chorus, and then I'll move on, I promise. Here it is.
Okay. Okay. I'm so glad that nobody listening to this can actually see you rocking.
It's just the worst piece of S song you've ever heard in your life.
Okay.
Anyway, okay, there's that.
Okay.
Melody Gardot is was a woman, a singer, American singer, grew up in Philadelphia that I had never heard of, and I like her. Live at the Olympia, Paris, is her Blu-ray, and she's an interesting cat. She always wears sunglasses on stage, and you're like, why are you always wearing sunglasses on stage? What are you, a cool cat? No. Turns out that in 2003 she was hit by a car, and one of the effects of her being hit by a car is that she is hypersensitive to light and sound, so she has to wear dark sunglasses like at all times to shield her eyes. Totally weird. So that's why she does that, but it's become like a little bit of her signature. But she's terrific. She plays piano and she sings, and she's she's a little bit like Nina Simone. I guess she's been compared to, but she's influenced by a lot of the old blues and jazz artists from back in the day, Duke Ellington and George Gershwin, a lot of the American songbook stuff. So I like her a lot. She's a little bit like not like Amy Winehouse, but she has that. She's modern, but has that old school sensibility like an Amy Winehouse.
Cool.
So Melody Gardot live at the Olympia Paris is a cool chick to get to know. Then we have The Damned, Don't You Wish That We Were Dead. Now, The Damned was an English rock band, and they were kind of the first punk band. I think they were the first punk band to actually release a single in the United States.
I wouldn't know.
Now, back then, the Sex Pistols and a couple other bands were the ones that kind of, sucked up all that oxygen. But The Damned was kind of the first. They were around in the late 70s. They had a couple of albums. They reformed again in 1991. But by that time, by 1991, 1995, they've had albums subsequent, even right up until like 2008. But really, The Damned is known for being kind of the first punk rock band to really have an album, make a name for themselves in the United Kingdom and here in the U.S. And so they're sort of trying to reclaim a little bit of their history in The Damned, Don't You Wish That We Were Dead, which played at South by Southwest. And this was directed by the guy who did Lemmy. Now, Lemmy, which is about obviously the Motorhead singer who passed away recently, there was a documentary about him, and it was terrific, and it's directed by the same guy. So you've got a good director who does a lot of great rock docs, and a punk band that deserves to have its history reclaimed and kind of does it.
Nice.
And Don't You Wish That We Were Dead.
I know nothing about punk.
Yeah, you know what? I've come to appreciate punk more as I've gotten older. When I was at the time, I was very young, but at the time, it was like just dangerous, scary, loud music that I didn't understand.
All I know about punk is I learned from watching Dirty Harry movies. That's all I know. They're the people that he yells at.
There are people who either feel lucky or they don't feel lucky?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. By the way, I was listening to the theme from Dirty Harry the other day. That is a ripping piece of music, seriously. Lalo Schifrin just completely unhinged. That is a roaring piece of music. The bass, the drums, the whole thing. That's like a jazz masterpiece. I don't know if you've ever listened to it, but it is an amazing piece of music.
Well, actually, here it is.
Uh-huh, yeah. Thank you. That's fabulous. Oh, great. Uh-huh.
Okay.
That's... Oh.
I have a couple more music docs to talk about.
Okay.
There's this British singer named Michael Holbrook Penniman Jr., and he is known by the short name of Micah. And he has a Blu-ray out called Sinfonia Pop.
Uh-huh.
And I have to say that I don't really like this guy. He's a singer and a songwriter, and he's had a bunch of albums out. He's fairly new to the scene. He really kind of broke in like 2004, 2006. And he's got a couple compilation albums. He's won a bunch of awards at the MTV Europe Music Awards. He's actually been nominated for a Grammy for Best Dance Recording. You'd probably like him. He's really just Euro. He's just Euro.
Euro lame?
He's kind of Euro lame.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this is a...
my favorite... by the way, Eurovision, you ever follow the Eurovision pop song contest?
No.
Ukraine won this year, and Russia's all pissed off because it means they're going to have it next year in Ukraine.
I'm turning off the air conditioning.
My favorite song in the history of the Eurovision contest is My Lovely Horse, which, of course, was not really entered, but they'd like to believe it. That's from Father Ted.
Real quick, Glen Campbell is... I'm not paying attention to you.
I know.
Real quick, Glen Campbell obviously is tragically suffering from Alzheimer's. He turned 80, I think, a couple weeks ago. And there's a DVD, not a Blu-ray, the Glen Campbell Good Time Hour Country Special. These were some terrific specials back in the day that have a lot of great country acts in it. Johnny Cash, June Carter, Buck Owens, Jerry Reed, Minnie Pearl. And there's some great songs on these things. This Glen Campbell Good Time Hour Country Special, Folsom Prison Blues, Born to Lose, I Saw the Light. And Shout Factory did a great job putting this together. Great performances. It's a great old show. It's a great tribute to a classic country artist who is unfortunately very, very sick and certainly on his way out. It's very tragic. And I'm glad that Glen Campbell's starting to get his due. There was that great documentary a couple of years ago. And a great farewell single that he released, and this is just another way to kind of honor Glen Campbell. The Glen Campbell Good Time Comedy, Good Time Hour Country Special. And finally, there's another DVD called Live from the House of Soul. This features a Afrobeat band. I'm not really a big fan of Afrobeat music, but I did appreciate Anti Ballas. That's what they're called. They're from Brooklyn. They formed in the late '90s. They're a 12-piece, and they're all very talented. And they performed everywhere. They performed at Carnegie Hall, and also Rikers Island. But this DVD, Live from the House of Soul, is really something you'd want to check out if you like Afrobeat music or are interested in different types of music coming out of some of these crazy little corners of New York. And yeah, it's a good band. They have a tenor sax, they have a guitar, a trombone, a good horn section, a few guitarists. But again, it's not really my thing, Afrobeat music. But I respected it more having watched this, even though I can't say I'm going to become an Afrobeat music aficionado.
All right, and then to wrap out our music segment, some stuff from Naxos on the classical end of things, all the opera and ballet stuff that Mark hates. We've got a lot of opera, no ballet today, but some other really good classical stuff. From C major, the Unitel classical line, we have Bruckner's Symphony No. 9, conducted by Christian Thielemann and the Staatskapelle Dresden. This is interesting. If you know anything about Bruckner, this was Bruckner's last symphony. He never completed it. He almost completed it, never fully completed it, but it still gets performed all the way up through the third movement, which remains a little bit rough, but it's still an impressive piece of music. And this is the conclusion of the complete cycle of all of Bruckner's music that Thielemann and the Staatskapelle Dresden have done, and it's kind of the definitive performance now. So it is a wonderful performance, beautifully put together on Blu-ray. And then also from Unitel Classica, C major, is Volume 2 of Beethoven's Piano Sonatas, performed by Rudolf Buchbinder. And I don't really keep up with a lot of the virtuosos these days, but Buchbinder is a hell of a pianist and really quite a joy to watch and listen to. This was recorded at the Salzburg Festival in 2014. Really wonderful audio, just fabulous acoustics, and a magnificent entertainer. Sonatas 3, 19, 26, 7, 28, 6, 24, 16, and 29 are included here. And if you know the sonatas, or if you don't, that's really not going to make much of a difference. And on the opera end of things, we have Richard Wagner's Tannhauser. Also with the conducted by stage direction and choreography by Sascha Waltz, and conducted by the Daniel Barenboim, conducting the Staatskapelle Berlin and the Staatsopernchoir. I'm not a huge fan of Tannhauser. It's big and flamboyant and bombastic, but for those who do, you'll love that. And then from Opus Arte, we have a whole bunch of really interesting stuff. Bizet's Carmen, performed at the Royal Opera House, directed by Francesca Zambello. This is really wonderful music. I don't particularly care for the story of Carmen so much, but the music is really amazing. And then a performance. This is a non-musical performance of William Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice, the Royal Shakespeare Company. Also from Opus Arte, a beautiful performance, very kind of unconventional in many respects. Particularly good, interesting addition to the corpus of Shakespeare. And as long as we're still on Shakespeare, there is a boxed set from Opus Arte, which is Verdi and Shakespeare. These are the 3 Verdi operas inspired by Shakespeare: Macbeth, Othello, and Falstaff. This is in celebration of the Shakespeare 400 or Quadcentennial or whatever we're calling it. And it's a lovely box set and all really, really great performances. And productions. All at the one at the Macbeth from the Royal Opera House, Othello at the Barcelona Opera House, and then Falstaff at Glyndebourne. Really, really great stuff. And then there's a boxed set of Baroque classics, also from Opus Arte. These are
if they're broke, you got to take them back and get a new one.
Oh, 6 classic operas. In a limited edition box set, also all Blu-ray, Handel's Diadamia, Cavalli's La Didone, Pergolesi's Adriana in Syria, Cavalli's Ercole Amante, Rameau's Zoroastra, and Scarlatti's Dove e Amore e Gelosia.
Oh, that one's my favorite.
I am unfamiliar with all of these except for Diadamia, which is lovely. The others, all the Italian stuff, and then Zoroastra by Rameau, I'm not familiar with. But they look gorgeous. They sound gorgeous. So, opera fans will love it. And then lastly, Blu-ray audio is something you should check out. If you have a Blu-ray player and you have not listened to Blu-ray audio, you're missing out, because it does, if you got the full speaker setup, it does take it a notch above what you would get with even, the very best CDs or the super audio CDs and all the stuff that they've tried to do. This is high-res audio, and this is all from Art House Music. There is Puccini's La Bohème with the Chorus and Opera of San Francisco Opera. And then there is Prokofiev's Cinderella with the Lyon National Opera and Ballet and Orchestra. And then there is The Damnation of Faust with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra and Chorus by Berlioz. All 3 just... And conducted by George Schulte, of course, one of the legendary conductors of all time. All 3 just sound magnificent. If you don't like the music, it's not going to mean anything to you. But if you're looking for something to really, really give you the sense of sitting in the front row balcony of like an amazing acoustic performance house somewhere in the world, and watching an opera or listening to an opera or whatever, it really just filled the house. It works the speakers like nothing. It's really beautiful. It shows off the audio capabilities better than most movies, frankly. So all of that is recommended. Now, Mark.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us why 13 hours is going to completely sink Hillary Clinton's presidential ambitions? Go ahead, tell us. Michael Bay. Michael Bay is her worst enemy, right? He's a Trump plant. You
realize that if we don't get political on the show, but if Hillary were, The worst thing that can happen would be for Hillary to win. Because you know why? Because all she's going to do is spend 4 years in special committees, that held by Republicans who want to just nail her for emails and for Benghazi and for the dinner she had last night, for the dress she wore, and all the sort of. They will secret committee her to death.
But this movie did all that already, didn't it?
No,
didn't it? It didn't.
It did not.
They thought it would. My point being this, and I will let you go on after this, but every time somebody comes out with a movie that is supposed to sink somebody's political ambitions, it never works. Case in point, Fahrenheit 9/11 won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. Didn't deserve to, but it did because everybody was making a political statement. Michael Moore.
I was there that year.
Oh, my gosh. And immediately after that, Bush got reelected.
No.
So, and then what's his face came out with Obama 2016.
Dinesh
D'Souza. Obama 2016. Obama. Oh my gosh, no! And Obama got reelected. So every time somebody comes out with a film that is supposed to sink somebody politically, they never do. Yeah. Now those were documentaries, fair enough, but this thing came and went.
It did. You know why?
It just came and went.
It came and went. I don't know that people were interested in just military porn. Because again, this is directed by Peter Berg. Peter Berg and Michael Bay are kind of the same, where they're just these punishing directors who are they make these tacky and flimsy and just loud, obnoxious movies. But even though Peter Berg is becoming the new Michael Bay, there is nobody like Michael Bay.
Yeah,
and Michael Bay just attempts to. He thinks he's making like a rah-rah movie that honors the sacrifice of our soldiers in this terrible thing they went through. And, of course, our soldiers did sacrifice a lot, and we should honor them and all that sort of good stuff. But I'm just saying that he thinks he's making that. But really, he's just doing another Transformers film, except it just involves soldiers.
Yeah.
And by the way, Michael Bay, as much as I hate him, he had done a couple decent films earlier in his career, like The Rock or even Armageddon.
Yep.
I think was fine.
Yep.
But if there's something about Benghazi that doesn't. Republicans think it's like they just think it's just the holy grail of bringing down Hillary. And yet everybody else is just, how many secret committees do we have? How many committees do we have to say that, it was not her fault? And,
somewhere there's some guy from the Ghazi family. His name's Benjamin, and he is just hating life because people just make Benghazi jokes around him all the time. And that's true.
Anyway, look, I'm not saying that there's not some intense stuff in here, because there is. I think that, what's his name? I forgot his name already. Oh, John Krasinski. He's trying to be badass guy after all those years on The Office. I don't really buy it. I think the rest of the casting is very good. I didn't really buy him. The music is supervised by Hans Zimmer, which means that it's just a bunch of, and bombastic stuff. Good stuff in it. I would think this movie might have even done better if it wasn't Benghazi, because I just don't know that people wanted to spend $16 on a Saturday night to just feel like they're going to be hit on the head with Benghazi.
Well, maybe Benjamin Ghazi, maybe he did. Maybe he felt okay about it.
How dare you?
So, Hail Caesar, Coen Brothers film. It's kind of minor Coen, but it's the kind of thing that they do particularly well. And minor Coen is better than most anything else. So here's the thing with the Coen Brothers. I get the sense that they, sometimes they really, really work stuff out really well. And sometimes I get the sense that they just kind of have like a kitschy idea and a few scenes, and they just sort of throw a movie loosely together around a few ideas that they think are really funny. And those scenes are great, and the movie is a lot of fun, but it really, compared to their best work, it's not a thing. Like Fargo is of a piece. That's a rock solid film.
Absolutely.
No Country for Old Men. They're obviously working from somebody else's source material.
But Best Picture.
Yeah, but then you also have things like Burn After Reading, which is like, well,
that movie's funny.
But that's the thing. There's nothing really going on there. It's just a handful of scenes that are incredibly funny, but they just barely hang together. And that's kind of what this is. Hail Caesar takes place during the Hollywood blacklist era, and I can tell you exactly what they said. They said, let's make a movie that sort of just is like a pastiche of everything that was going on in Hollywood in the 1950s, the blacklist era, and all these different genres. And we can talk about musicals and serials and people who are trying to transition, and this kind of an actor and that, and then we can have Tilda Swinton be a gossip columnist, and we'll We'll throw Josh Brolin in there as like the beleaguered production chief, and we'll have George Clooney play the really kind of the lunk-headed guy who's starring in like a Spartacus / Ben-Hur / Ten Commandments kind of Quo Vadis Roman epic, which is the movie of the title, Hail Caesar. And we'll just mash all this together, and then we'll kind of have some kind of a weird plot where the actor played by George Clooney, he gets kidnapped by a bunch of blacklisted communist writers, and we'll have a whole weird little caper thing going on, how they're going to hold the production hostage, and that'll be it doesn't really hang together, but there's a lot of fun stuff in here and a lot of really good scenes, and Ralph Fiennes as a very meticulous Vincent Minnelli type director who's doing very serious drawing room dramas is hilarious. He is absolutely hilarious. And Alden Ehrenreich, who should be on the tip of everybody's tongue now, because he is going to be the new Han Solo. He's going to be the new young Han Solo. He is amazing. His scenes with Ralph Fiennes in this thing are simply to die for. They're just an absolute riot. He plays a guy with a real thick drawl who's been, a Western sharpshooting star in these Western serials, and they're going to try to turn him into a real matinee idol. He can't handle it. He can't handle the dialogue, and it drives Ralph Fiennes up the wall. Funny movie, a lot of good stuff. Scarlett Johansson basically, playing what's her face, the swimming
Esther Williams.
Esther Williams, basically doing an Esther Williams type thing. I mean, it's a lot of fun stuff. Doesn't really hang together, but it's still a lot of fun.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, Jarhead 3, Wade. Oh, my God.
All right.
We have to talk about Scott Adkins, Charlie Weber, and Dennis Haysbert in Jarhead 3.
I didn't mean to throw you. I thought you were going to roll with the military thing.
No, because I did not finish watching this because it's just too terrible.
Okay.
This is the sequel to Jarhead at the time was a bit of a movie.
Yeah.
It had some pedigree and people enjoyed it, and it was a bit of an Oscar bait. But now you're like 2 sequels in to a movie that you never even had a sequel, and it's just it's all crap. Like Jarhead was a real movie, and now you got Jarhead 2 and now Jarhead 3, and I just don't get it.
I'm kind of shocked that there's enough in the Jarhead launched a franchise.
That's the thing. Like this movie was not made to launch. It was certainly not made to launch a direct-to-Blu-ray franchise.
No. Very strange.
So anyway, this is a bunch of crap.
Okay.
What do you want me to say? It's Jarhead 3, for Christ's sake. It's terrible. Stop that.
Right here is what I think is going to wind up being the most underrated movie of the year. I am so in love with this movie. Okay, I had to watch this for radio. This is the first movie I have ever reviewed for radio. Normally, let me explain something to people. Film Week is a grind. All right. Now this podcast is fun because it's our podcast and we can do what we want and we can throw something on. We can watch, like 10 minutes of it. If we hate it, we'll tell you we hate it. We watch 10 minutes of it, and it's we can if we get a piece of junk movie in and we look at it for 5 minutes, we think that's not really worth talking about. We don't talk about it. Film Week is not that way. Film Week, I'm on it with other film critics, and they will send us a list. And these are the 18 movies opening this week, and we basically say, okay, these are the ones that we really have to cover. And you'll talk about maybe 12, and then you've got to watch those 12 movies from beginning to end. You don't get to sort of say, I don't think this is It's you got to watch those 12 movies, and you might get through 9 or 10 of them. Okay, so. Those 12, and so you don't watch them twice. You watch it and you make it, you burn through it, and that's done, and it goes off your checklist. I have never, until now, watched a Film Week movie twice. Despite the grind, the pressure, I watched this thing through. I had such a blast. I sat there and I watched it again. I watched it twice. The movie I'm talking about is Mr. Right. This is such a hoot. It is so much fun. It is such a riot. You just can't believe it. Here's what Mr. Right is. Mr. Right stars Sam Rockwell and Anna Kendrick, and a very, very funny Tim Roth, by the way, and RZA's in this as well. RZA is simply to die for. But this movie is absolutely a hoot. So it's a romantic comedy, but an incredibly violent and sadistic romantic comedy. Anna Kendrick is a woman who's a basket case. Her boyfriend just cheated on her, and she just has a horrible history with men, and she just doesn't know what she's going to do. She just doesn't know why they hate her and why they cheat on her and all that. It's just horrible. And Sam Rockwell is a serial killer. Well, not a serial killer. He's a hitman. He's a hitman who has given up killing people, but he still kills the people who hire him because it's wrong to kill. Are you following me here?
There's a certain twisted logic there, yeah.
Right? He gave up being a hitman because it's wrong. But people still track him down and try to hire him, and he kills them because killing's wrong, and they shouldn't be hiring a hitman. It's brilliant. Isn't it wonderful? So these two weird lunatics wind up meeting and getting caught up in there's a whole thing. There's like there are these gangsters that are trying to get rid of him because they got a thing. And anyway, so it's a whole lot of very, very clever near misses and ultimately just it descends into complete and total hilarious mayhem and bloodshed, and it's great. And RZA is fabulous, and Tim Roth as a rival hitman trying to kill him is also fabulous, and Anna Kendrick is hilarious. And honestly, Sam Rockwell is an American treasure. They should put his face on Mount Rushmore. He is an American treasure. He is so good. You fall in love with him. He's wonderful.
There was a time, and this time has passed.
He does
by
the
10
splits.
years.
He does the splits.
No, his body double or the post house in North Hollywood.
No, he does the splits like he did in Charlie's Angels. He can do them.
Okay.
He is a dancing machine. Anyway, it's a great movie. And here's the kicker. The kicker is it's directed by Paco Cabezas, who's a total hack, who did this Nicolas Cage movie last year that was just dreadful and horrible. This is like a different guy directing this. It's like he suddenly became possessed by the ghost of somebody, and he made an amazing movie. And I give all the credit, really, to the screenwriter, Max Landis.
There you go.
Max Landis. Like American Ultra, this has a lot of the same vibe. Max Landis, John Landis' son, he's selling spec scripts. He's the man of the moment. He is. He's like this new guy, man. He's killing it. He's the screenwriting guy of the future. This is a great movie. Mr. Right, Sam Rockwell, Anna Kendrick. Don't miss it. It is so much fun on Blu-ray, and it only includes an extra of a featurette, but it is so much fun. You got to see it.
Even with Max Landis, the guy's only 30 years old.
I know. It's
Isn't that crazy?
It's nuts.
Anyway.
All right.
Yeah.
And then let's see. One More Time is kind of a meh film. Let's get back into the Johnny Depp dirt, because this stars Amber Heard and Christopher Walken. And the idea here is Amber Heard is kind of a rebellious daughter / singwriter / all-around ne'er-do-well and ragamuffin, impossible to please millennial who is now broke, and she goes back to this decrepit mansion in the Hamptons where her father, who is like a famous crooner, where he is sort of living and trying to resurrect his dusty old career. And it winds up being kind of a quasi-Cassavetes father-daughter thing. And, he's got a new wife, and there's all kinds of other family stuff going on with her brother. And, there's not a lot to it. The performances are good. Walken is good. Amber Heard is actually surprisingly good in a part that I didn't think was really that great for her. But ultimately, I don't know that this thing really goes anywhere that's all that interesting. But, Christopher Walken's in it. It can't be all bad, right?
That is true. Wait, let's talk about a little gem that I guarantee slipped underneath your radar.
Sure did.
The Confirmation. Now, this is the directing debut of the guy who wrote Nebraska, and so you know what you're kind of getting a little bit because Bob Nelson has a definite sensibility, and this is it's a real gem. It's a story. It's a comedy about an estranged father and son, and the father's toolbox gets stolen, and so he takes the kid on a weekend trip to go find this toolbox, and that's really just the bare bones of it, because it turns out that the characters are memorable. It's warm, and it's not melodramatic, and it's well directed. And, I just thought this thing just kind of came from nowhere. This thing was really moving. I thought The Confirmation was just terrific. And, And also, look, it's also a family-friendly film that you can kind of feel good about watching. It's not going to it's not, lame and Hallmark Hall of Fame-ish. So I would definitely check out the Hidden Gem of the Week. At least for me, The Confirmation with Clive Owen and Maria Bello and Robert Forster and Patton Oswalt is in this, and Matthew Modine is in this too. And absolutely terrific.
I'm all bummed that I missed that now. That's lame.
You know what it is? It's nice to see, and I guess this is Nelson's forte. It's nice to see movies about small town Americans and just how they live their lives. It's not condescending.
Look, you had me at Patton Oswalt. Exactly. Seriously. So sad that his wife passed. Honestly, I am so bummed at that. I mean, that really depresses me because I know how much he loved his wife, and he's talked about her in his bits. It's just
Now did she have cancer? I can't remember what he died of.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was sudden.
It was a disease. It was something.
It was like really sudden and totally unexpected, and that's just, man, that's the worst.
Very, very true. Touch with Fire. This is an interesting movie. This is with Katie Holmes and Luke Kirby. And it's about two poets with bipolar disorder, and they meet in a treatment facility. And, they're bipolar, so they go through, very high highs and very low lows. And you're thinking to yourself, God, that just sounds so melodramatic, these big, enormous emotional highs and these really depressing lows. It's so like, it just feels like just a big over-the-top, cliched Oscar bait movie. Not really. I'll tell you, the guy who directed this is this guy named Paul Dalio, and he is bipolar. So he knows...
Oh, so it's... so we can't really make fun of this.
As much as I want to, we cannot make fun of it. But it's good. It's good. It's intense, and it's just shot through with really interesting scenes where these people kind of have to go through this stuff that goes through their brain, that this bipolar disorder that they can't control, but sends them to these odd emotional places. And it's just very effective in showing, also about a new relationship and how people, when you first date somebody, you don't want the other person to know the bad things about you, so you kind of try to hide it. And so it gets into not only the bipolar disorder, but also what it's like to start a new relationship. So I think the thing is gentle and honest, and I just was very, very surprised by Touch with Fire. Katie Holmes was never like a bad actor. She was terrific. Yeah. But her career became something else, mainly as Tom Cruise's wife.
Yeah, well, it's not no more.
That's right.
All right, so I got a few classics here that I will blow through real quickly, and then we're going to hit some TV and see if that leaves us any time for this backlog of anime that's been creeping up on us. Probably not, but let's go for it. So we've got Michelangelo Antonioni's Le Amiche on Blu-ray from Criterion. Antonioni can be hit and miss. Tim, our good friend Tim, absolutely adores Antonioni. I like early Antonioni. When he started turning more into Tinto Brass later on in his career, I became less enamored of him. But this is an early Antonioni, the kind that I really absolutely adore. This is from a 2K digital restoration, Le Amiche from 1955, which is one of the films where he really takes on, it's sort of social criticism in a way, at least as much as you're going to get from Antonioni, which is a look at the lives of a certain class of women in Italy at the time in the 1950s, who have, all kinds of issues, romantic life and otherwise. And this is looking basically at what that class, that level of Italian society, how sort of empty it is morally and in terms of any kind of human fulfillment. Not a lot of extras here. There's an interview with Eugenia Polcelli on fashion, the role of fashion in Antonioni's work, and then an essay and a conversation with a couple of film scholars about the themes in the film. And that's pretty much it. But it is otherwise a really, really interesting film. Very, very good early Antonioni and worth checking out. So that is the Criterion release of the week. 3 terrific titles from Olive, 3 great catalog titles. Mannequin, a movie which I made fun of tremendously at the time. This is on Blu-ray, courtesy of 20th and MGM, now through Olive. Wonderful licensing deal. Kim Cattrall, before she was on Sex and the City, plays Mannequin, and to Andrew McCarthy's romantic crazy man for whom a mannequin comes alive, and it's like every guy's dream, I guess, in the 80s was that mannequin in the window to become your girl. Was it, Mark? Was it yours?
That thing was the mannequin was a hit at the time.
Well, it was because
they made a sequel.
It was because of the Starship song. The Starship song became a huge hit, and it was Grace Slick who put this movie over the top. I mean, it's a great song.
No, it's not. What the hell were we thinking with Starship?
But you know what?
Terrible.
Honestly, there's a weird kind of kitschy charm to this movie that I didn't give it credit for at the time. So I kind of sort of take it back. Denzel Washington in The Mighty Quinn, which is also a better film in hindsight than I gave it credit for, directed by Carl Schenkel, whose career hasn't really gone anywhere. But you know what? This is kind of like a Caribbean noir, and it's actually surprisingly engaging. Much better written than I gave it credit for at the time. So, and of course, Denzel can really do no wrong at all. He's great. So, and I think part of the issue here is that the screenplay was written by Hampton Fancher, who for us is most famous as the guy who wrote
Blade Runner.
Frickin' Blade Runner. Unbelievable.
And he's also co-writing the sequel.
Is he really?
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't sure about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I
that's
mean,
pretty
maybe
great.
something changed, but
That's
yeah.
pretty great. All right. And then about 10 years ago, a film came out that was not really discovered, but needs to be, and that is The Woods, starring Agnes Bruckner, Bruce Campbell, and an amazing Patricia Clarkson, who is really wonderful in this. And this is kind of a gothic thriller set around the world of a private girls' school in New England. It's anything set around a private prep school, male or female, tends to be either just bawdy and hilarious and incorrect, or else it's just creepy and it gets into all kinds of military metaphor punishment, and it can. That's more what this is about. So this is about what happens when you try to straitjacket people in one of those schools, and things just don't go the way that you expect them to. Pretty creepy, pretty well done, real moody, worth rediscovering. So that is from Olive, The Woods. And then lastly, our 4K Blu-ray releases of the week, 4K Ultra HD. We have very unexpectedly, I think they threw these together pretty quickly, Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, because the new Ghostbusters trailers are going all gangbusters, and I think they felt like they wanted to sort of get out ahead of the new Ghostbusters and see if they could get a little 4K action. Gotta be honest, I'm kind of disappointed in both of these. They also come with Ultraviolet, which is nice, but I see no reason to recommend for anybody who currently has Blu-rays of Ghostbusters or Ghostbusters 2 to really upgrade. I don't see it looks good on 4K, but I don't really see the great benefit. Unless you got a big old fat 70, 75-inch TV, I'm not sure you're going to really see any significant improvement. And, the issue with 4K is that it means up to 4K. And a lot of these things that are being put out on 4K are not really the elements being mastered to 4K aren't 4K. So, because a lot of cameras don't shoot 4K, a lot of the stuff that is technically 4K or advertised as such, it's like 3.2K cameras. It depends what source material you're working with. So, in this case, I feel like we may be looking at up-converted 2K. I hate to say it.
That would be disappointing.
It is.
Because you know what? Nobody's buying 4K machines and all the associated equipment to see Ghostbusters, like 30-year-old comedy.
No, but I have to tell you, Peter McNichol still has the line in Ghostbusters 2 that slays me. It kills me. It's just so funny, which is when he snaps out of his little trance and he's covered with ectoplasm, and he says with that ridiculous accent, "Why am I covered with goo?" Still makes me laugh.
Okay.
Still makes me laugh.
Wade Major, Low Threshold.
Thank you.
Comedy. Let's do some TV, Wade. Roots. Roots, of course, is
that dental comedy. Wouldn't that be a great title for a half-hour comedy about I
had a tooth pulled a couple weeks ago.
Oh.
Did I tell you that?
You did. How'd it go?
It's creepy, man. I don't care what they do. You know what? You sit in the chair, and I ask for the gas, and then they pull your tooth.
Did they just pull it, just yank it out, or was there any drilling?
No.
The drilling's the part I like.
No, because
it smells like barbecue.
No, because it's a molar. There's 3 roots, ironically enough. There's 3 roots that they have to get to, that they have to sever in order to pull the tooth. So molars tend to be a little bit more complicated than regular teeth. And but they finally got it out, and then I'm going to get an implant, Wade. I will have implants.
Good.
Actually, I already have a tooth implant.
Good.
This will be the second one I have.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah, it's freaking great.
Okay.
Anyway, 1977 Roots. This thing, this thing was only nominated for 37 Emmy Awards. And this thing was absolutely...
Why'd they remake this?
You know what? The remake is... I have not seen it yet, but the remake is supposed to be great. Because here's the thing. In 2016, you can, get way more
bang for your buck. I know.
way more brutal. You can get way more historically accurate. You can polish this thing up, and you can make it way more dramatic. And
But here's the thing.
angrier and more sweeping, and you can do it all in 2016.
But here's the thing. You already told the story of Roots. We just had 12 Years a Slave a couple of years ago. We have Birth of a Nation, which just won everything at Sundance, and which is, let's be honest, going to be a really big effing deal at the end of the year, and it's going to get a heap of Oscar nominations next year. And, Nate Parker is quite likely to become only the third person ever to be nominated in all 4 categories, producer, director, actor, and screenwriter, right after Orson Welles and Warren Beatty twice. So, and then we've got that other TV show which is on AMC or something. There's some new. There was Runaway Slaves. I gotta be honest. I'm getting a little tired of seeing black actors play slaves. I'd kind of like to see black actors play like just people again. I feel like we are trying so hard right now to make a point. I think we all agree slavery was a horrible thing, and it's a history we should all be aware of. But I'd kind of like to see black actors have a chance to play something other than slaves. I'm a little bit, I really want to see Birth of a Nation. I'm sure I'm going to love it, but I'm starting to feel like it's a little bit too much.
You start to feel beaten down by they're trading on the white man's guilt in order to
I'm starting to feel like the attempt to do the right thing is going so far that now we're creating this expectation that black actors all need to play slaves. And I think the whole point is we need to get away from that. The whole point is that if you're a non-white actor in Hollywood with the whole Oscar so white thing, you're not saying, please give me more slave roles. You're saying, please let me try out for the roles that other actors are getting. Like, let the roles be sort of colorblind. If you have a part that you're looking to cast, if Tom Cruise is up against George Clooney, well, why not let some Asian and some Hispanic and other actors and black actors let them all be competitive for it. Let's kind of open these things up rather than being so racially specific. I'm feeling like we're getting a little bit we're overreaching a little bit. We're trying too hard, and we're going to be counterproductive. That's my concern.
All right, gods at DigiGods.com.
Yeah.
That being said, Roots is on Blu-ray, Wade. That's a great Blu-ray.
It's a great miniseries.
It's a great miniseries.
And
it's a legend,
up.
And
holds up.
It does hold up, no doubt about it. It has an amazing cast, including, I'll just say LeVar Burton, just because he's on Star Trek The Next Generation. LeVar Burton played the young Kunta Kinte. And, Ben Vereen and Vic Morrow and Lou Gossett Jr. And
and my friend Tina and former neighbor Tina Andrews, who is wonderful in it.
Includes a 38-page booklet and a bunch of extras, special features. It's just a great... This thing was watched by like over 130 million people.
And rightfully so. I mean, this launched the television miniseries in Hollywood. It did for Hollywood. It did for American television what the Forsyte Saga did for British television. It's legendary.
All right, no one cares about the Forsyte Saga.
They should.
No, they don't.
Okay.
Vinyl, complete for its season. This thing EP'd by Martin Scorsese and Mick Jagger. Bit of a disappointment. In fact, HBO has already dumped the showrunner, Terrence Winter. He's out for season 2.
Is he really?
Yes.
Gosh.
Terrence Winter out.
So, man, showrunners are like disposable and expendable all of a sudden. They're
it's too
getting
bad
bounced all the time.
because the showrunner is they're the ones who have the institutional knowledge of the entire series, all the characters, all the storylines. So yeah, he's leaving as he was co-creator EP.
Wow.
And So anyway, Vinyl, this show is not as... even the new president of HBO admitted that Vinyl wasn't quite what he wanted it to be, and they're hoping that they can right the ship in season 2.
They can't hit a home run every single time.
That is true. But still, there's some good stuff in there, and Olivia Wilde is still just
delicious.
So delicious. Yeah. It's just not fair.
And then, but HBO continues to make huge bucks out of the Game of Thrones empire. Complete 3rd season and 4th season on these super cool limited edition steel books with collectible magnets. Tell me that's not a big selling point. Collectible magnets. Look at those. Pop those on your fridge.
I have to say something. When I go to work on Monday mornings, I have an office, and outside my office is a couple of the younger kids with the cubicles. And when I come in my office on Monday, I swear to Christ, they got to shut the F up. And all they do is talk about Game of Thrones and how the Red Queen did the crazy dragon with the crazy thing. And they're speaking a different language. They're so immersed in these characters and their worlds that I just want to shoot myself.
Yeah, I know.
They love it.
I know.
Absolutely love it. I mean, I'm trying to think of a show where people were that granularly interested in everything that happened. I mean, can you think, when was the last show where like everybody cared so much about every episode? They talked about it and they dissected it and they knew all the details of it. I can't remember.
Star Trek?
I mean, even something like The Sopranos was like, oh, I can't believe he got whacked. That was really the extent of it. But this is just ridiculous.
Well, anyway, this is seasons 3 and 4, and the steelbooks are nice, the magnets are nice. I'll confess, I still. Something recently happened. There was something recently on Sunday on Game of Thrones, which I did
think
not watch.
some fat guy died. I'm not sure though.
Yeah,
it means nothing to me. Some fat guy
like
died.
a week or two ago, something really just
and the red wedding. There was some red wedding, and
that was last
died.
year.
As you can tell, I have not seen Game of Thrones.
No. Anyway,
you know what? Actually, I saw the pilot. I saw the first episode.
Well, I should be fair because a very, very good friend of ours is the post-production supervisor, and I know what she deals with. And I have to say, people, I mean, you can tell looking at the show that this is like making a movie every week. This thing is crazy expensive. But I know from what she does that it is a monumental, it is a Herculean effort logistically to put these shows together. It is truly like making a feature film every week. It is phenomenal because things go on here, they go on in the UK. There's all kinds of post-production stuff that has to be juggled and coordinated. And that's in addition to all of the production stuff that has to be juggled and coordinated. It is really an extraordinary thing. It is a well-oiled, fine-tuned, giant behemoth of a steampunk machine that actually makes this show run. And this is the pinnacle of show running, if we want to be honest. This is the pinnacle of show running to make this thing work. So bravo to them. And, nice steelbooks. So I can't fully recommend these, despite all of the copious extras on here, which is just gobs and hours of featurettes and commentaries, and it's just on and on and on and on. I mean, it's hours and hours of stuff. The only reason I have a hard time fully recommending this is because you and I both know that when this show is done with its run, you're going to get a giant ceramic throne that comes with every disc and every episode in this amazing Christmas time gift package that'll weigh about 50 pounds, and it'll have to be delivered by white glove service from DHL or something. You're going to have your big Mondo boxed set eventually. So if you don't want to, if you have to watch it right now, okay, go ahead and get it. But otherwise, you're going to be double dipping when the big white glove service ceramic throne with every episode ever comes out. I'm warning you. We know it's coming.
Or a special edition when the Game of Thrones movie comes out.
Are they going to do a movie?
I don't know.
I'm sure they probably will.
I made that up.
Well, whatever. Okay, and then a couple of things here real quickly. We're going to have to wrap this up in just a moment. But we've got The Spoils Before Dying, which is a bit of a weird thing on IFC. This is strange comedy satire. I don't really know how to explain this, but it's I guess you could say that this is like a spoof of sorts. They're all these ex-SNL people are trying to do a lot of this. Will Ferrell shows up. Kristen Wiig and Maya Rudolph, Michael Kenneth Williams is the kind of the one non-SNL figure here. So what this is like this weird spoof of a jazz bio with a little bit of noir, and it's kind of strange. I don't know that it's that funny, but it's interesting in a way. I have to kind of figure out what the vibe is with this stuff because they play it straight, and I guess it's probably better as a sketch. Anyway, more When Calls the Heart of a Hero from Hallmark. This thing just goes on and on and on and on, and they're all kind of the same. So Lori Loughlin's lovely, and Aaron Krakau's lovely, and Jack Wagner's lovely, and it's just schmaltzy romance just keeps on going. And The Kroll Show from Comedy Central, I kind of think this is a misfire. This is season 3 of The Kroll Show. Mark, I can't remember if you like this or not. Are you a fan of The Kroll Show?
I'm a fan of him, but I think the show is a little much.
Yeah, it is. Anyway, all right. So kind of a misfire on Comedy Central. And what else do we have to wrap out the show?
We have Orange is the New Black, season 3. And there's a lot of women in jail, because that's what happens on Orange is the New Black.
I kind of feel like this thing is on fumes at this
I
point.
know.
The people still love it.
They do. You know what? It was a phenomenon when it came out. It kind of came out of nowhere a little bit. It took half a season, 3/4 of a season for people to go, wow, this thing is great.
Yeah.
But then it finally happened, and now they're. I don't think it's going to be like Sopranos or Game of Thrones amazing, but it's definitely got a niche. And the Blu-ray's great. There's a gag reel and some commentaries and a thing on Laverne Cox. So yeah, if you're a fan, I would definitely pick this up.
All right. And then our last 2 TV titles, Rick and Morty Season 2. We never covered Season 1, which came out last year, so I kind of picked this thing up midstream. Animation has just gotten weird and ugly for a lot of people. This is a more Adult Swim, which we have not been fair to in the past. We'll be honest, we just kind of don't get the whole thing. It's like you smoke a lot of pot and then you eat a lot of food and you can't get to sleep at like 1 a.m. You watch Adult Swim and I guess you make sense of it. Okay, so 10 episodes here, and they include animatics and featurettes and commentaries and stuff. And other than that, I kind of don't get the whole Rick and Morty thing. Do you get the Rick and Morty thing?
No, I do not.
Okay, I don't either. Anyway, Ultraviolet on that as well. And then lastly, the Shannara Chronicles from MTV, Season 1. I kind of feel like there is promise to this. This is based on a book series, I guess a young adult book series. And it means to be kind of Game of Thrones-ish a little bit. It's it all takes place in New Zealand, and it's got a fantasy vibe, although it's not quite to the level of Game of Thrones. And we'll see where it goes. Jon Favreau got involved as an executive producer. I don't know how big of a role he actually has to play, but we'll see where this goes. So this is the first season, and we'll give it a chance. That's the Shannara Chronicles, Season 1. Wishing them well. So, in the meantime, if you want to email us, please do so at gods@digigods.com. That's send us your emails, your questions, your concerns, your hate mail, or your Vox boxes. We are always looking for Vox boxes. No, we always want to feature fans on the show, give you a chance to say your say and be a part of the show. So just record your question in any format you want. Any audio format, send it in, and we will feature your question and our hopefully illustrious answer on a Vox Box in the future. With that, we'll see you next week.
No, wait a second, Wade.
What?
I have something very important to say.
Go ahead.